Check, check, sound check. Can everybody hear me loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
I hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. On this exciting, can I use the word exciting or volatile
Volatile,
day?
volatile for volatile. Yeah, we are back on air. Donald Keys, we're at the buzzer. Our market recap. I'm a little quiet. I'll try to turn myself up as much as I can, guys. I am working with a mobile mobile setup right now, so I'll try to maybe talk a little bit louder. But welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. This is your first time here. The goal of this segment is to happen in the markets for the day. They talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe are job as traders identify opportunity, see how we could take advantage of our opportunity while managing our risk. This is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay, been a Topstep performance coach since June 3, been trading for the past 13 years and in the future past 6, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for 2 years. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share my experience, some knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach Paul. Let me know how my audio is now, guys. I just added a bit of gain to it. Hopefully, it's not too loud and blowing your speakers out. But let's get into the markets. This may be a shorter version of At the Buzzer. I told Coach Paul I'm in Toronto for a concert. Got dinner reservations coming up in a little bit. Try to get everything done. There was a lot that happened in the market, so there's a lot of review. Go on. Sounds a little Canadian. Uh, but
Later.
let's get into it right away. So pulling up the economic calendar, there was some planned numbers out today. Of course, it's Friday. Sentiment coming out, and I heard the Michigan sentiment number was pretty good. Came in at 60.5. Forecast was 53.6. Sentiment a little better than what we expected. But we know that the news, Coach Paul, kind of continuing with the theme had all year, unplanned news is the news. The escalation of war between and last night, I believe it started last night, and markets reacting, pretty much every market trade reacting to escalations. I'm still kind of catching up. Well, retaliation by Iran. Anything on the call? You actively trading the markets? I know you were trading last night as well. Anything on the news that you have?
Well, there's something now bigger than tariffs.
Yeah,
Um, a war between Israel and Iran. Well, not unexpected. The timing, we it reminded me when I was on a trading floor in a bond, a night session, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, which was a night session, was usually pretty dull. It, the market exploded in the bonds. All hell broke loose, and we didn't know why. What didn't happen? We didn't know why until about 15 minutes later. So, doesn't matter when you're trading. You trade the market, not the news, and that was a classic example last night. As we'll go through, actually, we'll start soon. Is we had a opening range breakout trade that, I mean, it was classic.
hmm
But with that, if you didn't have used stops, you probably lost the account because any hesitation and it was gone. So that will be the front and center news. And I think that's going to be that way for a while. I don't see this war myself ending anytime soon.
we'll say, and don't control it. Before we get into the charts, we do hope that if we have any traders, we know TopStep is a global company. We have traders all across the world. That if we have any traders that are in any of these environments where we are seeing war, hopefully everybody's staying safe. Families are safe. Have family well. Um, hear Hogue say it all the time to pray for peace. Kind of pray for uh, resolution, peaceful resolution, whatever that does. that people don't have to continue. But we have to step in and trade the markets. And if you're going to interact, have to have a trading plan, like Coach Paul, have a stop loss, especially in this extreme volatility. I looked at it last night. What was happening was extreme volatility and opportunity to potentially lose accounts if you. There are 35 different contracts, 5 different markets we can trade with Topstep accounts. To the downside, had the Dow down 1.8%, live cattle down 2.1%, platinum futures downside at 5%. To the upside, we had soybean oil 6.3, crude oil up 7.95%, our biggest upside at 8. Round out our big four, we talked about crude up 7.91%, S&P down 1.1%, gold up 1.8%, NASDAQ down 1. Round out our big. I'm gonna pull up a chart. Coach Paul, I got a NASDAQ chart. It is Friday. Take a look at the NASDAQ. Tell me what are we looking at here on the weekly?
Well, still up. The uptrend is still solid on the weekly. We have some correction. We're still above last week's high. But interestingly enough, we're stalling here. Let's mark this week's low, which was made last night briefly. Is a big. I think it's going to be this is going to be a big number next week. If we happen to early next on Monday, we break that low and spend time under there, I think we could get some momentum to the downside.
I agree with you, Coach Paul. Hopefully you can hear me, and guys on the stream. Hopefully you can. We're not going to struggle through a choppy stream. I think it probably makes sense to cut it if it is choppy. They're saying that my audio is choppy right now, Coach Paul.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah,
Boomer Brian is saying it sounds good now. Let me know, guys. Choppy,
I
will
was.
will cut it. How about now? Now is fine. Now should be better. I took the audio filter off, so we should be good now. Uh, Let us know, chat. We're not going to struggle through a bad stream, but if it's good now. Okay, they're saying it's good now.
All right.
Much
You're the
better. Perfect.
master of the Stratocaster there.
Yeah, quick resolutions to some of these things, but it was a noise gate that I had on, that I normally have on my other mic. All right, let's go. So we have last week's low, like you talked
Yep.
about, Coach Paul, 21,473. Sorry, this week's low. You wanted to mark that out.
Yep.
Uh,
I think
so
that this correction here is a little different. But the range is pretty small, believe it or not. Uh, if you look at that, now that's why if this is going to turn, the first sign is when's the last time we've been holding the previous week's low for what, 2 months now?
yeah, since the third week, third week of April, we've been holding it.
So I feel that's going to be a very big level next week. Looking at this weekly chart.
Hmm. Yeah, we got pretty close to all-time highs, and this is we ended lower than we opened this week, but still a higher low. And a market that's in an uptrend. We're closing the week about 4.5% off the all-time high in the NASDAQ. I probably am going to lose my bet to Dakota, that $1 bet that I had that will have all-time highs by next Friday. Um, but
And then war broke out.
yeah, I can't control that,
That-
unfortunately. I can't control that. Let's get down to a shorter time frame. Let's take a look at last night's open. We had uh, some selling to start, and I don't know when the news came out, when the headlines came out that there was escalation in the war, but you can kind of see it in the volume. But before that even happened, there was some decent selling coming in last night. It looks like here's the Globex 30-minute opening range. And pretty much off the bat, we, you know, there wasn't immediate urgency, but a small range, and then this looks like where that news happened. We closed outside the range and continued from there. Coach Bowley, I know you were trading this. Did this all kind of happen at one time? How did that look on the charts
Um,
in real time?
it was slow, but well, look, we broke from the close.
Hmm.
It was a sloppy week close yesterday. We didn't do it. I mean, even J trades weren't working yesterday. Um, and but it was slow, but it was leaking lower. There, it just
Mm,
felt weak. But that's on the 30-minute. On the 3-minute, there was some urgency.
let's take a look. Okay, yeah, yeah, you can
Um,
see that.
and so there was no. One of the things is they had a weak close into. There wasn't any reactive buying. It was by the time that news came out, I was short and I put my stop and target in, and I had it coach basketball.
Hmm,
I came home and I'm like, oh
what
wow,
just happened? Right,
something happened.
right.
um, but um, at one point, it's interesting. We got down to the 20-day moving average where it found support,
Okay.
or the selling stopped. Now, as we go, this is in any time. This is a night trade. So we talked about this before. You could have big price movement, but the volume isn't there. So
Right.
today we had to find the volume to really find out where this market, what it was worth, and that daily look at that. We're right at the 20-day moving average, and we're losing momentum. Um, we're still
Still
above the
holding.
200, but this, I thought there'd be more volume.
Mm.
This is average volume.
Yeah, yeah, right at the daily average for volume. Still technically holding that 200 moving
Yeah.
average. Sorry, that 20 moving average on the daily. We got a little bit extended from it maybe and needed a pullback, but this is still a market that's in an uptrend.
Well,
Uh,
and didn't you know what? I shouldn't be surprised at the volume. Like, who who's going to load up in
mm,
front of this weekend?
right. Yeah,
I
that's a
mean,
good point.
anything.
That's a good point. You don't want to hold something into that volatility. We've heard Andre say it a couple times, right? Where one of his managers would just hold an S&P short into the weekend for, times like this. Of course, we're trading Topstep accounts. You can't hold positions over, but you know, in unfortunate times like this where we have, war headlines, the markets could open and gap down on Sunday, and that makes sense. Like you said, who's coming in to buy this? We got FOMC next week, uh, potential escalations. Uh, it's a scary market to want to own.
Yeah, and I'd almost say not even potential. This is going to escalate. This is not
Right,
to me. This is taking. We're gonna hear. We're gonna be talking about this for a while. Um.
right.
So still uptrend is still intact, but what else we see? We're finding balance up here.
Yes, we are.
And balance, when a market goes from imbalance to the buy side to balance, the other side can usually, that's where the risk is, that it loses balance and it moves down. I'm starting to see that, but can't sell it yet. Um, or I can't say that this market has been challenged. So, but there was, we're just another missile away.
Right. The 200 moving average on the 30-minute, uh, still a level, right? Technical approach to fundamentally driven markets, and we can see it here. Once we sold under that 200 moving average, we uh, quickly moved downward, but even on the bounce later on, I did take a look at the markets today. I did take a short around these 200 moving average here. I just did it from my phone, but can kind of trust that as a technical level, right? We have all of this sell side imbalance that we had. We know all of that volume that came into the sell side. Uh, by the time I checked the markets, we were kind of recovering, and saw we were near the 200 moving average and pushing away from it. So decided, hey, that's a decent area to take a small short, a couple micros, just to be in the markets. But you know, really beautiful technical test of that level. Now we're below it again, closing below it for the first time in a little while. So we'll see if we get any continuation. Let's kind of go a little bit more rapid fire. Let's go to crude oil, right? We know
Mhm.
crude had one of the biggest days we've seen in a while in crude oil. From a technical perspective, Coach Paul, we were talking about, the rally in crude and how it got started. Um, and man, we talked about a potential great swing trade. We broke out of this consolidation. What are we seeing here on the daily in crude?
Well, we got to the old highs. Um, at one point, crude last night was $9 higher.
Mm,
I'm long some calls. I wanted to get out.
okay.
Well, it was like, and and it was still about a 75 delta call.
Hmm.
The bid and offer was a dollar wide,
Wow.
so there was no market.
Right.
It was
Yeah,
sheer panic.
you're giving away money closing.
Yeah. So I had a hedge with them. I couldn't do a full because it was concerning. Like the illiquid. When this happens, who's going to make the market? It's all
Right.
good when things are fine, but when the excrement hits the fan,
Mm,
they all back off. Um, and it was a true melt up. But we did reach. If we go back, we talked about that. And I think we even can quote us. We said if you hear missiles, any sound of missiles from Israel into Iran, I think we talked about it earlier. Crude will instantly be $5 higher, and
right.
it did. I didn't think it would go $9 higher, but it finished about $5 higher. Um, what can you say? I don't want to be short this. Now we haven't broken out of the range. We're at the top of it. Um, Even facing this 30-year wait of of a war between Israel and Iran, there is still plenty of oil available.
Hmm.
Also, Saudi Arabia is going to supply it. By the way, Saudi Arabia and Iran are bigger enemies than Israel and Iran. So there isn't a chance they're going to turn off their oil spout. But there's still this is the risk premium. That's what it was. Because um the Straits of Hormuz, if anything happens where that's blocked off, then it's a no, then it's a melt up.
Mm,
But who wants to go home short with that in your
correct.
mind? So if we look quickly at a weekly, wow, look at that 200. Um, we're still in the range, but it's gaining momentum. Look at it was good volume. It's so got a chance to go higher. I wouldn't establish longs here. I'd have
Yeah.
to wait for a breakdown.
Right. That could be that blow off top move, right? If we're looking at it just technically. Last night was the 12th. Let's take a look at last night's open. You can clearly see when the escalations started, right? We had small 30-minute opening range, consolidation, and immediate breakout. Uh, you know, is this a trade that you can catch here? Maybe, maybe not. I think what's more important for me is if I wasn't looking at this, is not to start to fade this move once it happens, right? Sometimes there's going to be a fundamentally driven move that uh, throw your technicals in the trash, right? If you were looking at this $70 level here in crude oil and say, oh yeah, that's a level that I want to short, you got to adjust when things like this happen and be okay, even if you take the trade being wrong, right? Because we can see how quickly, that went from $70 to $77. Um, Nice J trade at the high here. We don't really talk about the reversals the other way, but we had some high volume through that 77 level, high of the day, 77.59 ish, 77.62, closed outside of that, and then we came right back into this range. Uh, and what I'm
Yeah.
looking at respecting about 50% of that one. So, uh,
Yeah, that one, that J trade, this the sell J trade, which we
mm,
don't really find, you said. But another thing on this melt up, every half hour bar was higher, low,
right.
higher, low, higher, low. So that's creating, that it's panic buying. And
Hmm.
we've talked about this. What's better is, when did the buying stop versus a price? Like you just said, I want to sell 70s. Well, we got to wait for it to go to 75 first. But here was a classic with that big wick and big volume. That's where the buying stopped. And if we put a VWAP on that candle, there we go. Now, I personally wouldn't get short.
Hmm.
Like when it was up there, I'm trying desperately to sell, to get a hedge on my call. I ended up selling minis. I don't like that. I don't like trading minis. But I couldn't sell a future, a full contract, and then I would have been short. But in that, looking at those panics, remove yourself from price and look at price action. In this situation, we saw that volume, and we broke the low of a half an hour, first time all night. All right, and then we got to move on. What's next?
Let's go to gold really quick, and we'll probably wrap with gold unless you have one other another market that you want to take a look at. I know you did say some currencies were moving as well, but looking at gold here, almost making all-time highs, and we do see this asset start to rally as well in these times. 2.5% off the all-time high in gold, closing the day at 34.52. It looks like that uptrend is continuing. A month ago, we were talking about, is the rally in gold done? Did they break it? But you zoom out, and on a higher time frame, all we did was come back, hold the 50 moving average on the daily, and continue to trend. And I think we're going to be talking about 4,000 in gold pretty soon, Coach Paul.
We could gap up over that. We
Yeah,
don't know. I mean, I don't. Do you want to be short gold?
no, not for more than a scalp right now.
Yeah, right.
Um, there
So
did look like there was some opportunity, a couple weeks ago, but you know, no, not a market I want to short. Plain and simple.
no,
Plain and
keep
simple.
it.
Not a market I want to short.
Uh, so all right, what's the other market?
Uh, for me, we went through the big four. Anything else that you saw on your radar?
Uh,
I'm looking at the quote board. I do see it's interesting that platinum is selling off. We saw that run that platinum had, as well as the other alternative metals. But seeing platinum kind of sell back off into this range, wow, right
oh
off the
wow,
1300 level. Like, could you ask for? Uh, is this the blow off top that we saw?
that
Is this a
that it
go ahead?
that
Go ahead.
has a blow off top, and it has a J trade
Yes, it does on the daily. Look at this.
on the daily.
Just
Wow,
closed below it. Oh yeah, platinum's coming right back down to this range.
you say that with conviction. I love it.
That
Yeah.
that is not financial advice. But that may be a trade. That may be a trade that I put on. Because this market loves to be in this range. It got maybe a little out of character over the last couple of weeks from what we've seen. Um, and I would not be surprised to see it fall right back into the range. So that technical signal here at least gives me an idea of where I can limit risk. That's a pretty wide risk on a swing trade, but um, for the potential to fall all the way back into this range, that's a pretty nice setup. And a 5% down day today.
Wow. Here's another Canadian dollar daily. We've been talked about this
Canadian.
earlier in the week,
Shout
or
out.
was it
Let's do the
last?
Canadian dollar since I'm in Toronto.
Yeah.
What's
You
what's this Canadian dollar?
better get those Canadian dollars before you go out tonight.
Right, right.
Everything's going to be more expensive when you leave.
Uh, Canadian dollar. Let's look on a daily. We'll zoom out a little bit.
Yeah.
Once we got above that 200 daily.
Yeah, we came back, tested it, hooked above the 200, and look at it's just been. By the way, I really like this market to trade.
Mm,
Um, really, if we look at the half hour, you'll see. But this market has the yeah, this market has some upside, and it just keeps grinding. Um, by the way, the volatility is a half of a micro S&P. It's,
Oh wow.
it doesn't swing hard. So
Which is good,
really,
especially in all the volatility that we're seeing right now. You know, we have traders that might need something a little calmer, uh, and that's not going to be as insane. It's a lot of good markets to trade out there.
so all right. Well, we're almost at the end of our half an hour here.
Yeah. Anything else you got, Coach Paul, before we go into the weekend?
Oh,
Um,
soybeans.
Soybeans. Let's take a look real quick.
Big move today in
Oh
soybeans.
wow.
Um,
What was that off of?
there was more willing buyers than sellers.
But it's
But
simple.
take a look at the daily. And,
Off
we've got,
off that 200.
yeah,
What is that white line down there?
off the 200, which we've been playing with, and it came early and often. I mean, it was in the, we look at a 10-minute chart. Well, that move came in the first 10 minutes. I don't know what the
I don't
news was. I don't need, yeah.
care what the news
So,
was. It's a 1 minute.
okay. So my feeling in there is that there could be an announcement of some agreement with China that part of the trade deals they'll come back and please buy some soybeans,
Mm,
which they're apt to do if it's at a discount. So
just
soybeans look like they can run. Don't be short soybeans in the second week of June.
hmm,
It's what an old trader told me once.
good
So
stuff.
that one, some opportunity on the upside.
Awesome stuff. I think that's it. Um, Coach Paul, unless you have anything else, we're gonna go a little bit early. Give everybody we're treated like a summer Fridays. Summer Fridays. Next week, I do want to tell everyone that at the buzzer, next week I am going to be here on Monday, but Coach Paul and Anne Marie will be running it throughout the week while we are in Chicago. Um, I do want to say to all the dads out there, Happy Father's Day this weekend. If you're going to celebrate, Happy Father's Day, and stay safe. Do something enjoyable this weekend. Get off the charts. Hopefully, you guys had a good week. I feel like I've been kind of MIA, even though it's only been 2 days. Uh, it feels like I've been gone all week, Coach Paul. 2 days away from the markets, 2 days away from Topstep
Yep.
TV. Feels like an eternity. I'm not gonna lie. But it's been nice to get some time off, just hang out with friends, and you know,
Rest up
yeah.
because you're coming to Chicago.
Coming to Chicago. I getting to meet Coach Paul in person. Hopefully, getting to meet some of you in person as well with the meetup on Wednesday. We're excited for it. Kind of building up some momentum, and taking Top Step TV to a better place. Just continuing to make the show better, bringing content to you all. Hopefully, helping with your trading journeys as well.
All
Um,
right.
Thanks, Coach Paul. Thanks everyone for hanging out on
Thank
a
you.
Friday. Go ahead.
And thank you. Enjoy your dinner tonight. Hey. Um, and on your way to the restaurant, pick up some Canadian dollars before they get even more expensive.
I
All
got you,
right.
Coach Paul.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.